hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School. We break down the most controversial subjects, the most engaged debates, the most pressing conversations going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. We're not going to be here. I say this every night, and I swear it don't be happening. But tonight, I really mean it. We're not going to be here super long, but we are going to cover a few of the big stories going on in the world today. I am so excited to see everybody here. Let me know where you're writing in from. Let me know where you're calling in from. Let me know where you're looking in from. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, but also hit your little click button there to let you into the comment well and drop in your name, drop in the city and even the country that you're coming in from, because as you know, this is a global classroom. And when we have a global classroom, we look forward to having all kinds of people from all around the world. And we look forward to having all kinds of conversations. The only thing we ask is that the conversation remains civil. We got comment moderators out there that hold that in. Zakia said, who's calling in? That's just it. We actually have you saw Bullet the Bunny did it, but we got some other folk. We're working on some technology so that people can just do audio and not just video. We've done it once or twice. Remember that weirdo that was accusing me of like being an enemy to Kanye West or something weird. He was a Kanye stan, and he called in with that crazy audio voice with no video. That's what I kind of mean. But if somebody want the debates, somebody want the smoke, even this evening, I'm always here for the smoke. So you ain't got to look hard to find me if that's what you're trying to do. But I'm just excited to see people writing in. I'm excited to see people joining the global classroom. And every single night, every single week, every single month, it's getting bigger. The classroom is growing and the community is growing. And I travel around this country a lot, as you know, even when it's not Black History Month. And when I go places, people, they tell me that they watch Up Front, and they tell me they watch Joe Budden podcast. They tell me, all this stuff. But Night School is right up there. In fact, I get more people who tell me they watch Night School than who watch me on Al Jazeera some days. I get more people who watch me on Night School than watch me on Joe Budden some days. It just depends on the day. But the point is that I know you're out there. I know you're watching. I know you're supporting. And I know the community is growing. So just thank you. Thank you for everything you do to make this community what it is, and to help us move in a direction toward what it should be. I'm so grateful to y'all. I know y'all stay up to watch. I know y'all make sacrifices to engage this information, and I don't take it lightly. I never ever take it lightly. So thank you. Just thank you. Let's get right to it. We got some interesting stories popping up. The first one is from China. China just sent the biggest warning yet to newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump, saying straight up, they're going to fight. They're ready to fight. They are willing to fight. They are able to fight any war that the United States wants. That's some tough talk. Now, this all starts from the tariffs, of course. Donald Trump decided that he'd have the brilliant idea, based on his sophomoric understanding of economics, to impose these intense tariffs. China's responding, and they said, look, if you want trade war, we with it. If you want tariff war, we with it. If you want real war, it don't matter. We locked in. It sounds like I'm putting sauce on it, like I'm hyping this up, but it's almost literally what China is saying. And this all comes again after Trump slapped more tariffs on Chinese goods, and China hit right back, targeting U.S. farm products. Now, Beijing is turning up the heat. They're boosting military spending again, and they're flexing their global power, all while accusing the United States of bullying and, quote, intimidation. Meanwhile, Trump's team is pointing at this as proof that China is America's biggest threat, both economically, militarily, and politically. A broken clock is right at least twice a day. Donald Trump is absolutely right to point to the growing power of China. He's absolutely right to say that the United States' biggest economic, political, and military threat is China. The reason why that is the case is where Donald Trump's analysis veers left. but he's not wrong in his point. The United States is an empire in decline. You know, after World War II, we saw the emergence of the US as the global hegemon, as the global superpower. There was a time when the sun never set on the British Empire. There was a time when the Roman Empire was the thing. There was a time when the Ottomans were tearing things up. There are always moments where a particular empire is in control. And when we look through history, there's no reason to believe that any empire, any dynasty is going to last forever. It just doesn't. Just like companies don't last forever. Just like superstars don't remain at the top of their game forever. Athletes don't remain at the top of their game forever. Nothing lasts forever. And the United States is an empire in decline. Now, declines take a long time. They don't happen in 2 years or 5 years or 8 years. Sometimes they take 20 years. Sometimes they take 100 years. Sometimes they take 50 years. But what we see throughout history is that empires that rise also fall. And right now, the United States is no longer the biggest game in town, not for trade, not for technological innovation, not for scientific exploration. And so when Donald Trump comes in and says, we're losing our global competitiveness, the whole sky is falling narrative, Donald Trump's right. Republicans are right. And whatever Democrat says that they're right too, although they often don't say it, or they say it for a different reason. And it's easy to blame the US decline on a singular issue or a singular choice. Like, you know, the voters chose Donald Trump, we fell. Or, this trade policy cut us off at the knees and we'll be back. No, the US decline has been going on for decades. Clinton didn't acknowledge it. Bush didn't acknowledge it. Obama didn't acknowledge it. Obviously, Trump didn't. Trump did, and Biden didn't. And now we're back to Trump again. But Trump's response is one of haste and urgency. And let me use a better word. It's one of desperation. Donald Trump is doing the tariff thing because he legitimately believes, I think he legitimately believes that this will help repair the American economy. It will keep us insular. Even if it shuts out the global market, it'll sort of encourage U.S. produced products, U.S. produced jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem, of course, is that Donald Trump doesn't think about things in the international or global context or transnational context. He doesn't understand what every economist worth their salt is saying, which is that this is not an easy, simple, problem-free solution. That not only do you run the possibility of igniting a trade war, but you run the possibility of creating significant domestic problems, irrespective of what other countries do. But again, China's not the reason the US is in decline, and picking a fight with China isn't the solution to the declining US empire. At some point, we're going to have to reckon with the fact that first, the economic power declines. And it's not just China. If you look at the emergence of the basic nations, if you look at what, Brazil or South Africa or not just China, but India, et cetera, it's doing, what you see is the emergence of a new economic bloc. And when economic power grows, diplomatic power and political power expands. You run the world because you run the world. You dig what I'm saying? The political power comes after the economic power or with it. And that allows for the expansion of military power, the deployment of troops in certain places, or the ability to hold off, to stave off, a war or to ignite one. The power to fight proxy wars effectively. All these things matter. And the US, again, is an empire in decline. Still powerful, still influential, still a global leader, but falling, falling, falling. And when you see moments like that, when you have a historical juncture like this one, where the empire is falling and the contradictions of capitalism are apparent, the question becomes, what do you do? The US is trying to hold on for dear life. That's why they're engaged in this trade war with China. That's why Trump is talking about emptying out Gaza and making it the French Riviera. This is why, because they're looking for empire on the cheap, similar to what the British did at the top of the 20th century in the Middle East and the late scramble for Africa. Is they're like, look, we know we're declining. We know things are falling, but we're going to hold on to what we can by infiltrating and taking over what we can. Here, is it the Gulf of Mexico? Is it the Gulf of America, as he calls it? Is it Gaza? Is it the Panama Canal? He's going to do something to hold on to this. Rosability asked the question, do you think he actually doesn't understand tariffs at this point? Maybe he doesn't understand when he first blurted it out, but surely by now, months later, he does. I think Donald Trump didn't understand when he blurted it out. I think he understands it better now. And I think he has a lot of people talking to him. But just like with his Middle East policy under John Bolton, the warmonger of warmongers, there's a way that if you have if you have certain people in your ear, they will tell you what you want to hear. They will explain to you why you're right. Or he'll find an ideologue who believes that Trump's right. In general, I think Trump doesn't care. I don't think he has a particular point of view, worldview that he wants to impose. I think he'll do whatever. But I think on this economic stuff, this is where he feels like his expertise kicks in, and this is where he starts to make decisions that make sense when you're talking about a local real estate deal, but don't necessarily make sense in a transnational geopolitical economic context. But that's what you get when you choose Donald Trump to be your president. Anyway, let's talk about something else here. Offset. I bet you didn't expect to hear about Offset on Night School, but it's worth talking about. First of all, the backdrop of this, of course, is Elon Musk. So let's just break the whole thing down. Elon Musk is out here playing games with Black lives again. The billionaire is co-signing a push to pardon Derek Chauvin. If you don't remember Derek Chauvin, he's the police officer or former police officer who murdered George Floyd. And he didn't just murder George Floyd. He murdered George Floyd in full public view on camera, igniting one of the longest and most sustained resistance movements against police brutality in American history. That's what we were doing in 2020. And it was COVID and it was George Floyd. It was Black Lives Matter. It was resistance. It was all the things. And Ben Shapiro, if you don't know him, is a very prominent right-wing voice. And he decided, along with other people, including his ex-bestie, Candace Owens, that George Floyd was actually guilty. Facts be damned. Now, if Ben Shapiro were listening to this, he'd say, Marc Lamont Hill is misrepresenting me. I'm not saying facts be damned. I'm saying look at the facts more carefully. Fair enough. I think your interpretation of the facts is wrong and misleading, but you are at least vocalizing that you believe the facts are in Derek Chauvin's favor. So I'll show exactly what Ben Shapiro said so he can speak for himself. But either way, Ben Shapiro is leading the charge to pardon Derek Chauvin, the murderer of George Floyd. I can call him that because he was legally convicted of murder. And Elon Musk is jumping in afraid to co-sign this ridiculousness. Before I show you what Elon is doing, I want you all to take a look at what your boy Ben Shapiro is doing, because Ben, the two of us may look no more. Let's see. Y'all see it? Here we go.
We are issuing pardons, however. There is one person that President Trump should pardon from federal charges forthwith. It would be incredibly controversial, but I think that it's absolutely necessary. That person is Derek Chauvin. President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. He should. He should pardon him his federal charges. If we are talking about reversing the evils of the last several years in American life, obviously COVID and its handling was a massive evil. Destroyed the economy, set us on a path to fiscal insanity, destroyed children, led to massive health-related cover-ups, just horrifying all the way around. And President Trump has taken on a lot of those things. But when it came to BLM, the inciting event for the BLM riots that caused $2 billion in property damage in the United States and set America's race relations on their worst footing in my lifetime, was in fact the railroading of Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd. The evidence demonstrates that Derek Chauvin did not in fact commit murder of George Floyd. George Floyd was high on fentanyl. He had a significant pre-existing heart condition. George Floyd was saying he could not breathe before he was even out of the car. He was in the car saying he could not breathe. Derek Chauvin, for large segments of even the tape that was shown, had his knee on George Floyd's shoulder or back, not on his neck. The autopsy of George Floyd showed that he had no damage to his trachea, that probably George Floyd died of excited delirium. There were no accusations, even at trial, that Derek Chauvin had committed a hate crime against George Floyd or that he targeted George Floyd because of his race. Nonetheless, on the basis of extraordinarily scanty evidence, and despite the fact that there was massive pressure on the jury, that the mayor of Minneapolis paid a settlement to the George Floyd family immediately, that the president of the United States suggested that Derek Chauvin was guilty right off the bat, that the jurors were being openly threatened and admitted as much. Despite all of that, Derek Chauvin was convicted on federal charges and pled guilty to federal charges. Derek Chauvin should, in fact, be pardoned on that. We will be covering that a lot more in coming weeks because I think it is worthwhile to remember that there is a man who is rotting in prison because the media decided in the middle of 2020 that they were going to turn a tragic law enforcement stop that ended with the death of a man who had a significant problem with drugs and pre-existing health problems into the raison d'etre of the entire 2020 election. And it led to vast chaos. It led to, again, the destruction of racial comedy in the United States, $2 billion in property damage, and a guy rotting in prison who the evidence demonstrates certainly was not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in that case. If we're going to talk about delivering pardons, President Trump, I think, should really seriously consider pardoning on federal charges. He can't pardon on state charges. Derek Chauvin, who is convicted of the murder of George Floyd. As I say, we will be covering this pretty extensively in the coming weeks. Right now, you should go to pardonderek.com and sign our petition asking President Trump to grant justice to Officer Derek Chauvin. That is pardon, P-A-R-D-O-N, Derek.com, P-A-R-D-O-N-D-E-R-E-K.
Oh, what a world we live in, y'all. What a world we live in. Let's do a couple of things here. First, because it's night school and we deal with facts, I'm here to help educate the world, not miseducate the world. There's so many things here. And shout out to Offset for speaking out against this ridiculousness. First, you just heard Ben Shapiro. I let him make his case. I let Ben Shapiro make his case. Ben Shapiro made his case for why Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd, that he was railroaded, to use his language. And Elon Musk, as you know, or maybe you don't know, is co-signing this foolishness. I mean, he's literally saying this, something to think about. So Derek Chauvin, according to Ben Shapiro, is innocent. And Elon Musk is saying something to think about. So he's helping to promote this narrative. That might seem like a small thing. It's like, why are you getting mad at Elon Musk and not Ben Shapiro? No, I think Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro are 100% in the wrong for this. I think that is important to highlight, to stress, to reiterate. I don't believe that Ben Shapiro is the only person at fault here. Elon Musk is the owner of the platform. When he promotes this information or misinformation or disinformation, the stakes are much higher because, I mean, if you look at how many followers this man has, he has 219 million followers. There are only about 300 million people in the whole country of America, United States of America. And then when you understand how the algorithms work, you realize that, dude he can make everybody read his stuff. And they kind of do. So this is the problem. But you might say right now, but Mark, you haven't made a case for why it's wrong or why he doesn't have a right to say this. Ben Shapiro has every right to say what he wants to say. As long as it's not libelous or slanderous, whatever. Just say your thing. Just talk your shit, right? That's fine. This isn't about having a right to do it. That's what the right wingers often do when you criticize their speech. They say, well, I have a right to say it. It's like, no one's questioning your right to say it. I'm holding you accountable for what you said. But the second thing here is that the May 2020 murder of Derek Chauvin has been litigated not just in the courts, but in the court of public opinions for years now. For absolute years now. Derek Chauvin was found guilty in April of 2021, and for the last almost 4 years, there's been debates and arguments, but the debates and arguments are never informed by facts. If you remember correctly, maybe if you don't know, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, Tucker Carlson started a lot of this madness. He was going around in the world, go around the country anyway. Even posted a Twitter video that got like 20, 30 million views talking about George Floyd not being murdered by Derek Chauvin. He made a whole clip, etc. And like Ben Shapiro here, he makes the case that George Floyd was just a crazy drug addict who died, and George Floyd didn't deserve any of the praise or love that he's received, but more importantly, more urgently for this conversation, he shouldn't have been viewed as a martyr because he didn't get martyred. He killed himself through drugs. And if he killed himself through drugs, then of course, Derek Chauvin was just a patsy. He was just a victim himself of a racially charged moment, a rabid citizenry, a liberal media trying to destroy a good man's name, all that shit. It's like they paint such a strong narrative. You would think that he didn't have his knee on the man's neck. You would think that we didn't actually watch for multiple minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, literally, this man be executed in front of us. You gonna believe Tucker Carlson or your own lying eyes? That's the question. But let's talk about the evidence, and let's talk about what this all means, right? An autopsy was done. The autopsy revealed that asphyxia and strangulation weren't apparent based on injury to vital structures of Mr. Floyd's neck. That's Tucker Carlson's argument. And from that, they mean that if you weren't asphyxiated, you weren't strangled, your neck ain't jacked up, and you had drugs in your system, then the drugs killed you. That seems like not the most unreasonable logic. That's what Ben Shapiro's arguing. That's what Tucker Carlson argued before him. That's what Candace Owens argued. All of the arguments. But it's not true. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, they did an autopsy, and yes, the autopsy did not record neck injuries or other, quote, life-threatening injuries. But what they concluded was that Floyd died from, quote, cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. In other words, he lost the function of his heart, cardiopulmonary arrest, which complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression, end quote. So let me put it a different way. In the trial, Derek Chauvin, the convicted murderer of George Floyd, had an attorney, a quite quality attorney named Eric Nelson. Eric Nelson asked the medical examiner, was this a homicide? Or to be more accurate, he said the homicide, quote, was a medical determination you made. Baker, the medical examiner, said correct. So he says very clearly, this was a homicide, not a suicide. Other experts have said, again, just because there's no injury here, doesn't mean that I wasn't asphyxiated, doesn't mean I wasn't choked out. The body doesn't always show asphyxia. Derek Chauvin wasn't convicted because of alleged marks on someone's neck. That would be false. That would be dishonest, but that's not what happened. New court documents came out. None of them made Derek Chauvin any more innocent or look any more innocent than the previous documents. The autopsy report, the testimony, they all say and show the same thing. I want you all, so that you don't feel like you have to just trust my word, I want you all to look. Sincerely, I mean this. I want you all, when you get a minute, to look at this. It is the autopsy report. It is not a secret. People like Tucker Carlson, people like Ben Shapiro want you to believe that it's a secret, but it's not. They want you to believe that all we have to go on is someone's word, that there's no science attached, that there's no hardcore evidence. But I want you all to go and I want you all to look for yourselves. Now, let me be clear so that there's no confusion. George Floyd had drugs in his system. There's no doubt about that. I'm not denying it. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to pretend it's not true. George Floyd had drugs in his system. They have tests to determine how much the drugs are affecting you. They have tests to know how much drugs were in your body. And they have tests to determine how a person died. For example, if I were to do a shot right now of whiskey, take a puff of a marijuana cigarette, a joint, and then I walk down the street and some guy beats me to death with a baseball bat, there's nothing about my choices that can justify that outcome. And if he murders me with that baseball bat, when I walk down the street, somebody hits me with a baseball bat, if they murder me with that bat, I don't care if there's drugs in my system. It's irrelevant. To be clear, the medical examiner told Derek Chauvin's attorney that if Floyd had been found at home in his locked residence with no evidence of trauma and the only autopsy finding was fentanyl, he said, then yes, I would certify his death is due to fentanyl toxicity. He also added that the interpretation of drug concentrations is very context dependent. In other words, yeah, it's just like if you saw me with drugs in my system and I was dead on my couch and there's no sign of forced entry, nobody had been here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you might make some linkages. But we don't need this isn't a whodunit. We know who did it. Derek Chauvin did it. And the expert said very clearly that it was his opinion that Floyd, quote, experienced a cardiopulmonary arrest in the context of the law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. It was the stress of this interaction that tipped him over the edge, given his underlying heart disease and his toxicological status. In other words, yeah, he was sick. But if George Floyd is walking down the street and doesn't meet Derek Chauvin, he's still alive right now. But he met him and he's dead. In the death sequence wasn't incidental. He didn't just have a heart attack. He had a heart attack that was sort of compounded, if not initiated. I don't know that part. I don't know if anybody could know that. But what I do know is what happened to him caused his heart to go haywire, and they're very clear that it came from the physical interactions with the police. So the truth is, there is no new story. Here's another truth. Even if you could get Derek Chauvin pardoned, all you can do, Donald Trump, that's what they're asking to pardon him. All you could do, Donald Trump, is pardon the federal stuff. The man got 22 and a half years left, or he got sentenced to, how many years did he get sentenced to? 22 and a half years, Derek Chauvin? I forget, but he ain't getting out no time soon. I want to say 2038, maybe, something like that. And that's, the Fed time where you got to do it 85% of your time, etc. I don't know what his state time is concurrent, though. In other words, even it's like when we had Boudreaux, like everybody, right? Even if the president wanted to pardon these people, they still have state time to do. So Ben Shapiro, you can't get him free, even if you wanted to. Elon Musk is retweeting this. He doesn't just retweet anything. He's retweeting it for a very specific reason. Yeah, Chauvin was sentenced to 21 years, so that would be he was convicted in 2022. So whatever. So he got almost 20. He got almost 20 years left. Is my point. So Derek Chauvin isn't coming home regardless. So why would Elon Musk present this? Well, it could be because he's just passionate about criminal justice reform and political prisoners and all the stuff that we might say, or he knows that this is red meat for his base. This is just a game. He plays the Donald Trump game, say things to piss people off and build a new base. That's what Elon is doing. And so when Offset, just to tie it full circle, says, fuck Elon Musk, it's because he understands the complexities of this. I mean, to be clear, he didn't say fuck Elon Musk. His exact words were, Musk is a, quote, racist bitch. And he vowed to ditch his Teslas for Ferraris. There's a sacrifice. And let's be real. This ain't the first time Musk has sided with right-wing voices who are pushing dangerous narratives. But now with Ben Shapiro leading the charge, and Ben has a huge following. He's an incredibly talented voice. I just don't know what that means for the status of history. I mean, just there's the criminal justice stuff, right? You know, who's guilty, who's not. There's the public policy stuff. We get it. But Elon, with the way he's posturing online, is doing more than that. He's also kind of attempting to change public memory so that we actually believe that Derek Chauvin was this railroaded victim cop. It's just like when we rewrite things like replacement theory or what have you. When the right-wing, racist, white supremacist, anti-Semite, you know, evangelical nationalists come out and they want to fight to change the curriculum, they want to fight to change the history book. It's not just that they don't want to talk about uncomfortable subjects. They want to rewrite history in ways that paint them as heroes and that paint the heroes as the villains. And so Elon Musk doesn't give a shit about Derek Chauvin or George Floyd, but what he knows is if he gins up enough anger just from a retweet, people start looking, people start studying, people start paying attention, and they might feel differently and they might go in the wrong direction. But that's what Elon Musk is trying to do. So I'm with Offset on this, right? Elon Musk is a racist, whatever you want to call him. But we also have to have some smoke for Ben Shapiro. We also have to have some smoke for Elon Musk, because that triumvirate is evil and awful. And we basically got 4 more years of it. But we get what we organized for, right? All right. I didn't run this story yesterday because it made me too sad, but I'm going to do it today because apparently it's my job to do stories. Who knew? Kyrie Irving. Can we talk about Kyrie Irving? Again, nothing makes me more disappointed, more sad than talking about Kyrie Irving in this way. But Kyrie Irving and Dallas took a major L yesterday when Kyrie Irving, the star point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, tore his ACL and is now out for the season. I don't want to show the brutal injury. I hate showing brutal injuries. That's part of the reason why I didn't show things yesterday, because I was worried about that. But I will show Kyrie being Kyrie, a genius.
Unfathomable, all the injuries.
The crowd recognizes what's happening here.
I don't know if you don't know what's happening, but right after the injury, Kyrie Irving went to the free throw line to finish his free throws. He could have got an injury replacement since he's not going to come back the next year. Shit, he only had to not come back for the rest of the game. But he's got that warrior spirit, and he wanted to shoot his free throws, and he shot them. And he even, while shooting them, said, "Thank you, God." The boy is humble. The boy is clear-headed. The boy is wise. Shout out to Kyrie Irving. I know you'll recover 100% because you just put that kind of work in. I believe in you. But this ain't just about Kyrie Irving. This is a major setback for the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving is their best player by sure. He was averaging nearly 25 points a game, and he was putting in the most minutes of anybody in the league since Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers. But now everything's changed. The Mavericks are not looking good. Anthony Davis the primary return player for that from that trade, if not the only one, because some things broke down. Anthony Davis ain't playing. He's back to that Charles Barkley nickname of street clothes. Key players are getting hurt, and their championship odds went from 66 to 1. Remember, they were in the finals last year to 200 to 1. And I would imagine that if Kyrie ain't coming back and he's not, those odds are going to drop to, slim to none, and Slim just left town. Now, Kyrie says the recovery process has already started, but let's be real. He's 32. He's got some injuries in his past and a $43 million option next season, a player option. So to me, that means the Mavs have to make some decisions about what they're going to do, what kind of team they want to have, what kind of trajectory they want to be on. Personally, if you got a talent like Kyrie Irving, he's box office, he's gifted, he's a champion, keep him as long as you can. But if you can't keep him or you don't have the bread to fulfill it for your purpose, at least let that man go somewhere where he can contend. I say the same thing about Kevin Durant. Let him go somewhere where they can contend. The season's over for Dallas Mavericks now, but and I'm sorry. It's just rough. I can just say that. During Ramadan, Kyrie was focused as always. Pressers, he's outside. Photo situations, the red carpets, he's with his daughter. I mean, he's just a beautiful spirit, good dude. And I hate to see this happen to anybody, but especially, the best of us. So hope you get well, Kyle. Please recover. We're rooting for you. We're praying for you. All right, bro. Ooh. And I got one more sad story. I'm tired of sad stories, I know it's the business we're in. I know it. But I don't want to talk about death anymore, but I don't have much of a choice because it's been that kind of week. Sylvester Turner dies at 70. He was a political giant. If you don't know, Sylvester Turner is the former mayor of Houston, a newly elected congressman. He's 70 years old. He just got elected to Congress. And he was something else, man. He was a relentless advocate for his people. Himself growing out of poverty, he understood what was necessary to grow, but also what kind of institutions and structures had to be put in place so that people could be successful, so that people could thrive. The man was special. He was different. He's a Congressional Black Caucus member. I don't always go see eye to eye with them. I just don't. But he was one of the few who I could see loved what he was doing, believed in what he was doing, was authentic to what he was doing, and still had a level of humility and care that I didn't see in other people. I mean, the man was mayor of Houston. He was on, the council. He's done all the things. Decades of public service. He found the most vulnerable members of Houston, and he made sure they got resources. He fought for Medicaid. He fought for education. He fought for working families. Many of the things that you heard last night from Congressman Al Green out of Texas are things that Sylvester Turner's also been championing. And last night, he was in Congress challenging and pushing for change. Let's say we've lost Angie Stone. We've lost, who else? Well, I'm going to get to Roy Ayers. Don't even remind me. Who else? We lost. Of course, we lost Irv Gotti. We lost, who else? I feel like we're just losing person after person after person after person after person. And last night, this man was part of the crew walking out on Trump. He was part of the crew calling for universal Medicare or Medicaid. He was, again, not the most radical cat, but liberal, without a doubt, and progressive in many, many ways. He was fighting the fight that he needed to fight. But it's such a funky time, man. We've lost so many. In fact, in the last week alone, we've just lost so many people. There's not the singer that we lost. Rappers we were losing. The young rapper was just killed this week. So much death, man. So much destruction. You know, when somebody dies at 70, it still feels young to me now. And I don't know the complications behind Sylvester Turner, but I do know that it's too soon. I do know that it was too soon. Anyway, I know that a lot of you have heard that Roy Ayers has died, and sadly, I have to confirm that news as well. And this is what I'm saying, y'all. We have entered a moment of just deep sadness, extraordinary loss. It ain't right, but it's natural. It's inevitable, right? Say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? Like that's just what it means to be human. Right? Surely we are gods, and to God we will return. But anyway, let's talk about Roy Ayers. I don't have a long obit. I didn't prepare anything. I found out right before I went on air. But some better obits have already been written. NPR has one. I believe Ninth Wonder's posted one on social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel confident that you all will find them and that you all will engage them and take them seriously. But let me take a moment to just talk about what Roy Ayers means to me and why we should be thinking about him. First of all, Roy Ayers today, March 5th, 2025, has passed away at the age of 84. You know, to some people, Roy Ayers is an impeccable musician, and that's true. To others, Roy Ayers is a phenomenal composer. That's true. For some, he's a funk pioneer. That's true. It doesn't matter what you say about Roy Ayers, what you think about Roy Ayers. Roy Ayers was and is an extraordinary artist. He is a generational talent. He is somebody who has changed the face of music in ways that many of us don't even know or have the ability to account for. Roy Ayers came up in a musical tradition. He played the vibraphone, and he even played it since he was knee high to a grass. Or he was playing live, performing at 5 years old. So I don't know when he actually started, but he was part of, family bands. He came up in the jazz scene. He came up in the bop scene, the hard bop scene in LA. He developed a signature sound and became somebody special, putting together a group called Ubiquity, or Roy Ayers Ubiquity. And they made music that simply hadn't been heard before. I don't know if y'all know about Ubiquity. If not, go listen to it. Go look it up. But what he did for funk, what he did for jazz, just something else. Roy Ayers is one of the most sampled men in music history. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but when you are listening to Mary Blige, or you're listening to Dr. Dre, or you're listening to Outkast, you're listening to Roy Ayers. In 1976, he came out with an album and a song called Everybody Loves the Sunshine. Y'all know it. It's one of the most important songs of the last 25 years of the century, not just in Black music, but in music, period. And that song has been sampled so much that I don't even know what to do with it. Obviously, My Life. There's lots of places that sample it very well, beautifully. But sometimes the samples are subtle. But hip hop didn't just embrace Roy Ayers for his sample resources. Alicia Keys, The Roots, Gang Starr, Tyler the Creator, they actually connected with him and actually made music with him. My favorite collabo with the young generation, with my generation, was Mama's Gun. She shouted him out. If you remember, he's the one playing the vibraphone on Clever, which is such a beautiful song. Such a beautiful song. Common shouted him out, you know. And also, you know, he's not just a staple of the hard bop scene. He's not just a product of the funk scene. He is a forefather of neo soul. We talked about Angie Stone last week, sort of not getting the credit for being a forerunner of hip hop, but being seen as a neo soul person. Roy Ayers is, in many ways, and Erykah Badu said, is a father of neo soul. And we gotta recognize and embrace that as we embrace him and his legacy. Roy Ayers was special. I can't wait to hear Questlove write about him and talk about him. I know he's going to, because he's just genius and beautiful like that. I know other people are going to write in more rich obituaries will be written about him. I know the Grammys next year will have him in memoriam. But as Black folk, we need to do something special for Roy Ayers. I hope it starts this year at the Roots Picnic, but if not, I hope it starts somewhere. I hope there's festivals and tributes and all the things, because he deserves all of it. Shout out to Roy Ayers' family, sending love to you, strength, big hugs, big healing energy. Anyway, family, I hate to end on bad news, but that's kind of where we are. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for supporting. We got Isaac Hemseed, who just gifted 5 MLH memberships. Thank you, Isaac, or Isaac Hemseed. I appreciate you. Arian Khan said, R.I.P. Young Dolph. Young Dolph, if you don't remember, died. Actually, died on the birthday of Omega Psi Phi was in November 17th. It's been about 3 years now. They roofed his killer, gave him a bunch of years. The geniuses keep fading. The youngins keep fading. The babies keep fading. The giants keep fading. I'm just tired of all of it, yo. Shout out to Life Up Mbatha for becoming a new member of the channel. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining. You have no idea how grateful we are. Mark, can you discuss Bernie Sanders' response to the State of the Union address? 60,000 concurrent, 10,000 more than the Democrats' official response. That's not a surprise. Democrats showed in November that they don't have strong leadership on the bench. They had Joe Biden, they had Kamala Harris, and then who else did they have? You had Gavin Newsom, and you kind of had. That's it. I mean, you got Mayor Pete, you got Andrew Cuomo, you got all these people with asterisks, but no one cared about the Democratic response. It's kind of like when Bobby Jindal and them were given the Republican response after Obama became president. It's like no one cares about the other stuff. They just don't. Maybe they should, but they don't, because the party wasn't in a good place. But they do care what Bernie Sanders has to say. Bernie Sanders has been on tour talking about oligarchies. Bernie Sanders is a populist. Bernie Sanders has a sensible economic message that resonates with the people. You may not agree with it, like a lot of people don't agree with Trump's, but the point is economic populism works to draw in people. Bernie is generally principled, and he's on the right side of most issues, particularly around economic justice. I lost some, I don't want to say respect, but I lost some respect for Bernie during October 7th and the aftermath of it, because of how he talked about it. But at the end of the day, Bernie is the best of his cohort. And it's not just my opinion. The people see it and feel it. That's why the Democrats, the Democratic official response got 10 times fewer, according to TJ, viewers than Bernie Sanders. That's a lot. That's a lot. If you're saying that Bernie got 60,000 concurrent and Democrats got 6,000, shit, I do 6,000 some nights. I got 3 right now. So with that in mind, I think we need to not just have Bernie or whoever break down Trump's contradictions and shortcomings and lies, because there's a lot of lies. We need to start thinking about what the next phase of leadership is going to look like, and what are the organizing policies that are going to get us to the finish line. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. At least just supporting the channel, keep doing what you do. I appreciate that. I love that. Muna Hassan said, I do not fear death. I have been dead. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and not suffered the slightest inconvenience. Very true. I love Twain for his plain folk insights. And I know it's a response to me saying how tragic all the death is. And I get that. There's a certain kind of maturity in wrestling with confronting and embracing, or at least accepting the realities of death, that we all go from womb to the tomb. And I'm okay thinking about that in certain ways. But for me, it's just like, yo, the world is on fire, and some of our greatest freedom fighters, resistors, fire people, you know, our firemen and women who could put out this fire, this awful dumpster fire that we call U.S. democracy at the current moment. Some of the most valuable people are leaving us too soon. Our artists, our politicians, our principal politicians, our activists, our organizers, our teachers, our healers. Take politicians off, but the rest of them, they matter. And it hurts that they're leaving us. And I pray for continued health and prosperity and care and justice for everybody who's still on this planet. I ain't tired of living. That's all I'm gonna say. And I hope you aren't either. People tell me who I should have on the show. Lil Duval. I'd love to have Lil Duval on the show. Bernie on Night School. I'd love to have Bernie on Night School. He's been on other shows of mine before. A bunch of them. Not a bunch, but enough of them. I'm down. Are the Dems done? Nah, you know, America has lots of second, third, and fourth, and fifth acts. Look, we thought Republicans were done. In a certain way, they were after Obama came into office. That's where the Tea Party comes in. That's where MAGA comes in. It was rebuilt in the image and likeness of these new people. I have no reason to believe the Democrats could not do the same thing if they grew the political courage to do so. That's what I can't wait to find out about. Anyway, thank y'all for watching Night School. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're so inclined, please hit that join button and become a paid monthly subscriber and member. Member is the important part here to the channel. When you get a membership, even at $3.99 a month, it goes so far. You have no idea. Please consider it if you're not doing it already. Even at the bronze level, it goes a million times further than you might think. But if you can't hit the member button, use the apps. Go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, and drop something in. You can drop $1. You can drop $1 million. I'd be grateful for either. I prefer $1 million, but I'll take whatever you can get. No amount is too big, no amount is too small. But we're asking everybody who's watching tonight to drop $10 in for the monthly tuition. We're at the top of the month. We had a slow month in February. We'd love to grow and be able to pay our bills, pay our producers, pay for studio space, do all the things. But to do that, we need your support. So yes, hit that join button and become a subscriber, a member, excuse me. But if you want to, or you just don't have the stability to commit beyond this month, we're asking everybody watching right now just to donate $10. If everybody watching right now gave $10, we'd be able to meet all of our goals. Everybody watching right now, live or on the replay, could drop $10 in Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle for the month. We would be in great shape. But again, no amount is too small. Give what you can, do what you can. I'm grateful for all of it. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are extraordinary. And I'll see y'all soon. Peace.